Hello, hola, 안녕하세요, здравствуйте. This is Brian from B Ryan Podcast. So, among the novels and films we discussed in the lecture, why did I chose the movie Rashomon? It's because I haven't read any books and the movies was only thing that I have watched in focus. Just kidding, Professor. I promise I read all the books. Please don't deduct my participation points. I beg. I just want to graduate from this wonderful USC. Anyway, going back to the main topic, the reason I chose this film for my podcast was that it was our first film we discussed in the class after like 7 books. FYI, the class title is Literature and Film, so I just wanted to discuss how the medium of film has an advantage over the medium of book, which we discuss most of the time in lecture. Since I was reading the book for almost half of the semester, I was very used to narrative style of the written text that the book provided, and suddenly when there was a film assigned for a lecture discussion, it allowed me to have a new perspective on a unique feature that I couldn't acknowledge in usual that makes the film to be advantageous on storytelling than the medium of book. So in this podcast, I will talk about the film techniques that the director used that couldn't be expressed to other mediums like books, allowing the viewers to be more resonate with the story. Before diving into the main discussion, let's have a short advertisement time. Want to have a special dinner with a Hollywood star, Chase Cresford, aka Octopus Lover? Well, I can make it. Pay just $15.99 and meet a Hollywood star. He's known for not having dinner with his fans. Since we are very close friends, it's only chance. Pay only $15.99 to meet this guy. Be the Maxine in the movie John Malkovich, just in $15.99. Okay, so the first unique element of the film Rashomon is the use of shadow and rain to create an obscure setting. At the beginning of the movie, rain falls on the top of the gate. For this scene, the director mixed black calligraphy ink into the water tanks of the rain machines. Yeah, isn't it very interesting to put ink in a rainwater? Guess actors wouldn't love it much. It clearly shows the director's intent to create an obscure theme by blocking the viewer's clear view of the gate with rain. This effect leaves the viewers more puzzled as there's 4 different people telling their own stories that differ greatly from each other. Okay, I brought the example photos I took with using a water droplet in front of a person's face. As a droplet blocks a clear view of a face, people watching this photography cannot tell what kind of person it is and must infer the emotions of the person behind the droplet. In this similar way, photography's obscurity casts people in doubt. I think this also applies to the film Rashomon. As a result of this effect, the viewer is left to synchronize with the people at the gate, listening to the woodcutter's story, which is very fragmented and makes it hard to discern the truth or reality from it. Another element that made the obscure setting was the use of shadow. For this technique, I think the fighting scene had the most impact from the use of shadow. This is the first fight scene that is told by Tazumaru. While the fighting between 2 men is very skillful and suspenseful due to the intense background music and their skill for using the swords. However, the character's face is very opaque as the forest trees cast a deep shade to them. I think this dynamic scene is covered in shadow, not clearly showing the exact scene, leaves the viewers a mysterious feeling. Not sure if you guys know the Japanese manga One Piece, but this scene really reminds me of Usopp, a Japanese name combined with Uso, which means lie. In the One Piece story, Usopp also tells his lie of being in a battle and killing a gigantic whale by himself. Since the meaning of his name is lie and based on his physical strength, the audience can easily notice he is lying. Similarly to this film, a use of obscure shadow effects during the fight scene, I think it gives the audience a hint that each character is not fully telling the truth. While the first three flashback stories from the bandit wife and samurai commonly feature shadow and rain between the scene, the opacity decreases in the flashback story from the woodcutter, which appears at the end of the film. This is the last fighting scene that is told by the woodcutter. As you can see, the bandits and samurai are having a fight in the middle of the light, and the shadow is not covering their face. As a result, it makes the audience clearly see the hands shaking and the frightened look, showing how the bandits and samurai are afraid of the fight and what their fighting skill are like, how awful is it. Like two children having a sword fight on a playground with wooden sticks. I think this directional choice highlights and contrasts the fighting scene with the previous story, where they were telling the overly exaggerated account of themselves. For example, the scene where the bandit said he won the fight by crossing swords more than 12 times, or whether samurai say he committed suicide, clearly showing the honor of the characters. In addition, the light and brightness represent the truth. Because of that, I think this is kind of like a hint from a director to the audience that the woodcutter story is closer to the truth, ultimately allowing the audience to indirectly notice that last woodcutter story as a truth and to unveil the mysterious story told throughout the first 2/3 of the story. Well, this is not a directional choice related to film's opacity, but I wanted to discuss the court scene that appears before the characters telling their stories. During the court scene, the judge doesn't appear, and there's not even a single voice from the judge. Rather, the characters tell what the judge might say in a close-up shot. And this film effect makes the audience feel as if the characters are talking to them directly and with like we're a judge. I think this effect made me and the audience feel like we were one to find out the truth of the veiled story, and that the characters are appealing their opinions about the case. Compared to the mediums of book, it would be easier to understand how this kind of film unit trait can be effective in conveying emotions. On the page 1 of book Heart of the Dog, the author tried to convey Sharik's emotions of being poor from Sharik's perspective by saying, "Look at me, look, I'm dying. The wind under the archway howls at my departing, and I howl with it. I'm done for, done for." The villain in a cook hat. The chef at the canteen's normative nourishments for employees of the Central Councils of People's Economy. Splashed boiling water at me and scalded my left side. Swine that he is, and him a proletarian. Oh my god, how it hurts. That boiling waters scare me to the bone. And now I howl and howl, but what's the use of howling? Since the scenes is written in text without a visual image, readers have a fewer opportunity to be sympathized with the character than the film edition of Heart of a Dog. I think this use of technique of creating an obscure setting makes the medium of film different and privileged compared to the medium of the book by effectively conveying the intended emotions to the audience. Telling the story itself is easy, like telling the math equations. But I think the hardest part of storytelling is evoking the intended emotions. Just like comedy show, it's easy to tell the story or jokes, yet it is hard to make the audience laugh. From using film techniques of shadow, ink, rain, and close-up shots in film, Rashomon, it was very effective in not only telling the story, but also bringing the audience inside the scene to the people at the gate, allowing them to feel the unsure emotions in the beginning with the mix of different stories and emotions of problem solving at the end of the story, knowing the truth of the case of the forest. This is the end of my podcast, and I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time, and I hope you guys live in a life that is true for you. Thank you.